Friends, I saw in comments before I came live and someone said, we're working on artist time. And let me tell you what, that could not be more true today. That could not be more true. But I am so glad you're here. And I'm so grateful that you stuck around because I am late, almost 10 minutes late. So I do apologize. But friends, this has been an incredible series, our Mixed Media Live series. If you are watching on replay and you want to get caught up, I have a playlist below, so check that out. Let us know where you're tuning in from today. I see Peacock Feathers, Molly wearing stones. I see Arden. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Come one, come all, come in. Let's paint together. I'm such a goofball. I don't know what's wrong with me. Anywho, just doing a sound check, making sure everything sounds good. We've got Kelly. Hello, Arden from Florida. Valerie, hello. Wow. Brain, engage. Oh, Lean from Belgium. Hello, Molly from Missouri. Oh, this is wonderful. Yay. Donna from West Virginia. Ronnie from Ireland. Camilla from Sweden. Oh my gosh, I love it. Judy, they're in Canada. Yes, yes. Paula from Ireland. Sharon's from California. Wonderful, wonderful. So glad to have you here. I say that all the time. I'm so glad to have you here. The fact that I repeat things, please don't think that I'm any less sincere. But friends, today is a fun day. It is our last day in this Mixed Media Live series. And then my regularly scheduled uploads will be starting. I do have a little teaser for you. I have a little holiday card tutorial coming up. This is the artwork from that. I just finished filming that this morning. Really fun, really bold, mixed media. And I also am finishing up filming today a holiday watercolor place setting DIY. Getting a little crafty, friends. Anywho, very excited about it. Today, we are going to continue our journey in finishing paintings. And friends, this painting that we're finishing today is near and dear to my heart. There's nothing terribly specific about it. It's not an emotional connection I have with it beyond it being my own artwork. But I just love this piece. I started it almost 2 years ago. And it is going to be finished today and is going to be made available as a studio sketch for 2022. If you don't know, I only release my originals once a year, friends. Once a year, I release originals. I've only done an additional release I did during 2020 of some of my personal collection, some pieces that were much more like crazy time investment type of pieces. But the studio sketches that I release yearly now, there are considered sketches because they're looser and just a little more simple. And because of that, very, very affordable. And so I believe with my whole heart and soul that everyone at some point in their lifetime should indulge and own original artwork. And I realize right now is a very difficult time for so many of us to do anything for ourselves. But perhaps this would be a great opportunity for gifting. We have also Team Replay, stick with me. We have extended our Cyber Monday sale through today. We have a lot available for sale. We have our floral calendars. Kelly will go ahead and follow up with that information in below with the QR code. We have our floral calendars. We have scarves, select ceramics that are 25% off. So it's a great time to wrap up your shopping. And also, the remaining sketches from last year's collection, there are just a few, are also 25% off. All right, friends, let's head down to the painting table and get this party literally started. It's time to paint. It's time to get to this. Okay, so we are revisiting the composition discussion, the color theory discussion, and how do we finish a painting discussion. Let me know in comments. Give me a yes or a yay if you find this type of content helpful, because I'm thinking about actually making it a series with some of my upcoming video schedules, because I have found it to be, I continue to do research about this particular topic. And to be honest, friends, I don't see anything. I'm not finding anything about this topic. And I find that to be a little discouraging. So I'm deciding on this piece, to be quite honest, if it's going to be oriented this way. I actually think it's going to be, I think this was originally how I'd oriented it. I used my Case for Making palette on this when I started it years ago. So I have her out. This is a handmade watercolor studio in Seattle, I believe. Kelly, if you could pop that name in comments. And start popping up questions on the screen, friends. Vicky says, very helpful to work on finishing paintings. Arden says, it's very difficult to finish a painting for me, so this is helpful. Wonderful. Yes, I do have a bunch of new products coming out in 2023 that I think will be very helpful on your watercolor journey, your mixed media journey. And friends, I'll apologize in advance because lighting today, it is raining here in Pennsylvania, and my lighting is wah, wah. You know, it is what it is. Okay. If you're having fun so far, you're feeling my energy, go ahead and give this video a boop. That's a like, friends, a little thumbs up at the bottom of the screen. I'm going to take a drink and get on with it. So I think about, what are the 3 things I think about, friends, when it comes to finishing a painting? We think about composition. So for example, like balance. Are things feeling too left or right heavy, top or bottom heavy? Is there a balance in the scale of the brush strokes? That's not something we've talked a lot about. Are all the brush strokes a similar size? That can get kind of uninteresting, for example. Think about color theory. What could I do in terms of color theory that would strengthen this painting, right? And then, of course, I think about the edits. Do I want the edits to be, am I looking to kind of reinvent the painting in these final stages, which I've been known to do, or am I just adding some finishing touches? Today, I'm most likely just adding some finishing touches. And here is my thought process why. I very much love the lightness of this piece. Do we lose connectivity? Okay, we're good. We're back. I love the lightness, the airiness. I don't want to lose that. And I am known for layer upon layer upon layer, right? I don't want to lose that. Kelly, can we go split screen? I don't want to lose that. So that's important to me to keep, yeah, thank you, to keep the airiness about this piece, especially in here. I do feel like there is a heaviness on the right-hand side. It's almost okay because we read left to right. It starts light and it builds up. I, though, probably want to add a few more of the orange buds. These almost look like spray roses, like the buds of a spray rose. And so I might add 2 more, something like that in there. I'm a little nervous about it, honestly, because I love this section so much. I don't want to mess it up. But that is a really important thing to think about and talk about and recognize in ourselves, is that fear of finishing the painting. And that's what we are here. Thank you, Mary. That's what we're here for, to really like recognize that fear, that we don't want to finish, that we don't want to finish in fear. We want to finish in freedom and fierceness, right? We don't want to finish in fear. We want to finish in freedom and fierceness. And so how do we do that? The biggest advice I have for you is we go slow. We make a decision. We do a little bit, paint a little bit, pull back before we even think that we're done with that particular element, and think about it. And maybe move on to another element. So if you want to hear more about that process, you're going to want to watch some of our other uploads in this series, or other lives in this series. Lots of good stuff happening. All right, let's go back to the painting table full screen and let's get on with it. Okay, so I have my palette sprayed down. I'm going to be using the 1/4 inch dagger because I recall that being the primary brush I used to create this piece. Now, I had mentioned that I might add some more of these fluorescent pieces. And just a note, friends, if you are interested in the studio sketches, we do recommend, I do finish these with a UV spray or a finishing spray that helps protect, because I do use some pigments that are more fugitive and not as light fast. I'm very open about that. But I also have done a ton of testing. I have 20 plus years of artwork that I've been painting like this. And as long as you finish them and put them under UV glass, you're golden. Honestly, even if you don't, it's going to take a long time unless you're living very near the equator for these things to fade. But anyway, that is a topic for a whole other video. But I take a lot of care to protect these bad boys before they come to you. Okay, so this area is definitely unfinished. I'm definitely going to be adding some more of the light and whimsical stuff, but I'm not going to do that first because I want my hands to warm up. I'm going to go ahead, even though I'm a little nervous about it, with a light hand, and I'm going to start adding in just a few more hints of these rosebuds, okay? And I say a light hand because I am nervous. I don't want to mess things up. Very, very, very loose. I am going over top of some of the greenery, and then I'm just going to wash it out. I'm going to wash it out, not detailed. Literally, that's it. I actually don't like how it's overlapping on this leaf, so I'm going to get rid of that. Done. Beautiful. And I'm going to move away. I'm going to move away because there's no need for me to stay there and wonder and wait and worry about it. I'm going to move away and just move on to something else a little bit more down here with this lovely green from Case for Making. Just a few swooshes. Very soft, watered down, wet on dry, and then back away, Kristy Rice, back away, right? I'm going to continue this up here. I love this little spray going. It's darker, but I want to continue that off the page, just like that. That is super helpful. That creates this lovely serpentine line, very effective for the composition. It's not cutting the page directly in half. It's just lovely, lovely, lovely. I have a mind to maybe extend some of these darker medium-sized leaves here, but I'm not doing it yet. I'm undecided on that. It's sunny and warm in Florida, not very Christmassy, Arden says. I just go for it. Yes, yes, yes. Checking in from Texas, Inez. Hello, hello. Fog and rain in my corner of the world, says Rodin. Yes. Well, we've got the rain, not necessarily the fog today, but we've certainly got the rain. Okay. So next, what do I want to do? I do feel like maybe, yeah, some of these more opaque green leaves up here, knowing that I do have plans to do some of the light and feathery stuff, but that'll come. Just the tip of my brush to create a little stem, and I'm going right over some of that, and then letting my brush run out so it becomes dry brush. A little bit more. I reloaded my brush there, and I'm letting these leaves descend in size as I go towards the tip, and then another big one here, and then I'm going to step back. I love the V, this off-center asymmetrical V that this is creating. Thank you so much, Danielle. Very powerful because it's bringing the eye, boom, right here to this focal point. Mary says, Kristy, do you mark which paint palette you use or just know by looking at your work? I just know, and I have a very innate, weird memory for that, but I highly recommend just marking them on the back in case you don't have my crazy memory. I don't have a memory for a lot of things, but when it comes to what palettes I used, I've got a solid memory. It's very strange. I do feel like I need a little definition where these three roses intersect. So I'm literally going to just do a little elongated, very organic triangle, just following the contour where they meet. And look at that. So powerful. Sometimes those tiny moments of abstract, just a shape, just a little notch, a little cutout where things intersect, offer so much power. Look at that. Look at that. Power. Another one there. Boom. Really strengthening that as a focal point. Love, love, love. I'm going to go down here. I want to go off the page a little bit with some light leaves, but I'm going to go back to this lighter green that I used down here and water it down. See that? I don't want to go with that dark green. It just feels like that would just start distracting from this, but I do need some visual weight down here, I think, for a balance in my composition. And I'm getting that just with lighter colors. These are not detailed strokes, and they will remain not detailed strokes, most likely. I believe that's just effective as it is. I'm thinking about the detail level in the roses. This one has some linear detail. This one has a little bit less. This one has linear detail, but it's very tone on tone, not as obvious. And I'm happy with that kind of balance of different levels of linear detail. Okay. Just looking and thinking. Oh, Carrie says, I agree. I'm thinking about pulling one of the hundreds of unfinished paintings in the bottom of my drawer. Carrie, do it. Let's just take a moment to honor that bravery and that comment, because there's such power in doing that, bringing out some old artwork, bringing out artwork that you've been scared to finish, like this one. I've been so scared to finish her because I love her as she is. In fact, she's been scanned already and used for different things, but to finish her as her own piece has just been scary for me. And so there is so much bravery in that act and going for it. Just a little note here. This painting is on one of my favorite indulgent papers. It's the Arches Cold Press 600 GSM. You can hear, listen, how thick that is. It's about a 1/16 of an inch thick. I love this paper. It's the best. But it is very expensive. And so I'm sorry. I do accent sometimes. It's not meant to be disrespectful. I'm just a weirdo. So go easy on me. Okay. Decisions. Thinking through, again, love these moments. This little moment here, I want to show you this area here. It's some watercolor sketching with some really sheer washes. And it's just a lovely little moment. And I'm going to do some more of that. I'm going to go right in here and start to work it in. I feel sufficiently warmed up. And I'm just going to get into it. I'm going to get my palette out of the way so I don't be dipping my palm in that. I'm going to load up the liner brush. How do you know when a painting is finished? Honestly, that instinct comes with time. But I do liken it, since I have a business in the wedding industry, I do liken it to just knowing, like, when you picked out your perfect wedding dress, right? You just know. Now, but it's I hate saying that because that is so not specific. And I'm doing these larger, friends, by design. I don't know if I'm going to like it, but I'm going to just try it. You just know. But I think the better question, to be quite honest, is how do you build the skill of knowing? How do you build that skill? Because I do firmly believe that is a skill, that is a habit, that is an instinct that we need to curate, right? Sorry, I moved my cam here. I don't know what's happening. And I'm just going in and seeing if I like this. I actually don't. So I'm going to rework this area. I don't like the bigger, I like the finer, but I'm just going to go ahead and turn these into just some swoopy filler leafy moments and leave that area alone. I actually like what happened here. I'm not upset about it, but I'm going to move on from that decision. I didn't like that decision. Anywho, back to how do we develop an instinct for when a painting's done? And I think the best thing that we can start to do to build that instinct now is actually to start developing a habit of stopping early, ending early. And let me kind of expand on that. What does that mean? Stopping a painting, not trying to finish a painting. I hear a lot of like, I've got to get this painting finished before I start. I can't start another project. Why can't you? Why can't you? That's why I have so many unfinished paintings, because I've developed a habit of being comfortable with stopping early, because it gives you the time to think through your options. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I think it is a really incredible skill to kind of have in your arsenal of creative skills, is knowing that you're stopping early by design. And there's a reason for it. There's a reason that you want to stop early so you can have time to think and process what you've done so far, right? So I think just get yourself in the habit of stopping early and see where that takes you. Now, stopping early, but then also getting in the habit of coming back and revisiting the paintings that you stopped early on. Honestly, these studio sketch releases were part of me just really trying to force myself to do just that, to get back to some of these paintings that I had stopped early on. So do what you need to do to build the good habits. I talked a little bit about it yesterday, that we kind of have this fantasy in our heads about our creative journey sometimes, that they're always supposed to be just very loosey-goosey, very free-spirited all the time. And unfortunately, that is not the case. We've got to build habits in order to have a more valuable, strong experience. Lean says, I love those very little buds or berries on the left. Is that the same color as the top of the rose, or did you alter it? Seems a bit more purple. It's definitely more purple. It's a violet from the Case for Making palette. This is the violet right here. Yeah. This is also the violet, but it probably, my guess, has a little bit of like a rust or a burgundy mixed in. Yeah. And then these little details, I'm going to be adding more of those, are just very much different levels of water on my brush. Here, I'm going to actually do some of these up here and get this little party started. And they're just little scribbles, little moments like this. Some are just truly just dots. And I'm letting the paint run out on my brush to get that kind of natural ombre, light to dark effect. You could do this one of two ways. You could do it like this, where you do the purple, the little fine moments first, and then add the stems, or you could do it obviously opposite. Jennifer says, Kristy, have you done a video on how to scan your finished works for printing? Your images are so vibrant and look like the originals. I love your art and your instructions easy to follow. You know, I have not done that video. I will say this, my team does all the scanning these days, and we do keep the editing very simple. We actually don't edit out a lot of the paper texture. We want the artwork to feel as very much like the original as possible. But truly, not all scanners are created equal. I've been asked many times what scanner we use. I can't even remember the name of it. But I'll tell you this, I bought an HP just for my studio here, just to have a printer, and it happened to have a scanner in it. And I was excited because I was like, oh, I can scan some of my own stuff. And the scanner's just terrible. So the scanner is really important. I may do something in the future with scanning and reproducing artwork, if that's something y'all would be interested in. I just never really thought about it and didn't know if y'all would be interested, but scanning, and then of course like post editing. It's a little bright. All right, I'm gonna come up here. When you're doing little clusters like this, I find it very important to maintain a natural feel for the base of the stems to emanate out of a single point and then spray outward. If all of these stems were coming out from different places against this rose, it wouldn't look very natural, in my opinion. And so I tend to try to make sure that everything, see, I'm starting here, and then I'm coming over here and meeting up with these little dots. And it's just making for a very natural vibe, very organic. Same over here, even this little Lone Ranger over here. I'm making sure that she's starting out at the base of this cluster. Just a little fun, more advanced thought process type of tip. Very helpful. All right, added that, taking a step back, seeing how I feel about it. Connie says, used to do cakes professionally. I had a second person tell me when I was done until I was comfortable with my own judgment. Yes, that's interesting. I like that. Why not get it kind of in a creative accountability partner? I think that's fantastic, actually. So that could certainly be helpful. Just a second set of eyes that you trust. Absolutely. Why not? Why not? Just adding a little bit more linear detail to some of these leaves here. Just the same green that I've been using throughout. This is that darker green, loading up my liner brush. This paper is hard on liner brushes, I'll be honest. It's got a heavy texture and it takes a lot of water. So it's a lot of reloading of the liner brushes especially. I'm gonna go over here and do some of the lyrical stuff just to keep this area light and lovely and airy. And again, all of these little sprays are emanating from a single point right there. Keep those questions coming, friends. I would love to answer them for you. That's what these lives are all about. The fun and the benefit of actually catching me live is that you might get your question answered live. Lean says, do you notice any difference in using paper towels versus old white rags? Yeah. Paper towels, if you're a blotter, if you do a lot of blotting as part of your actual style and process, paper towels leave that weird texture, so rags are better. I am not a blotter, except I use it to blot my brush before I get to the paper. So I actually don't worry too much about it. But yeah, if you're a blotter, rags would be better if you don't want that added texture. I'm going down into this old leaf here, just adding a few little more linear moments. Okay, love how this is starting to unfold here. Really happy with a little bit of this here, kind of just mimicking some of this down here. I might go ahead and do some more of these fine little leafy sketches down here. Being really loosey-goosey, adding in the stems, and then add the long, I'm going to make sure these are elongated like those first and not squat. There we go. All right. Lovely. Okay. Pretty, pretty. I prefer cold press almost 100%. Absolutely. Even though there's a lot of fine detail, and a lot of people will be like, but hot press is better for fine detail. The thing is I undulate between big washes, juicy washes, and the fine detail. So I've kind of altered my style and my skill set to that. I just know that I have to reload my brush often, have a little more water on my brush to get those fine details to flow like I would hope or expect. So, yeah. Okay, let's see. This is the decision making, thinking time. We've got some really pretty fluorescent. There's a detail here. I'm not sure where my head was at. It's a standout. It's an area I don't dislike what I did here, but what I don't appreciate is how there's only one area where this is happening. So we need to remedy that. There's a couple of different ways I'm thinking off the top of my head that we can do that. One of the ways we're going to try first is to really load up this liner brush with that fluorescent orange, and then maybe right here, add some linear detail to an existing leaf with the orange. We don't need a lot, I don't think, to kind of get the point across that we're creating a little balance of this detail. That's lovely. See, so we've got it here and here now. And then I think a little bit up here should do the trick. Just a little. maybe another little hint of it on the vein there. And it's not quite enough, I don't think. It's not obvious enough. Maybe just like a really sketchy one. There we go. Up here. All right. That's interesting. Yeah, that's nice. That mimics that. And that picks up on that. Beautiful. Love it. Okay. Noelle, your nails are always fantastic and seem to be coordinated with whatever subjects you're demonstrating. Honestly, all right, I'll tell you a story. But so I don't coordinate my nails specifically with artwork because I'm filming so much so often that would be really impossible. But these particular nails were designed, I'll show you after, it was in celebration of my book that released last week. If you want to check out we did a live celebration. So these nails have, these nails are getting redone tomorrow. They have watercolory stuff, and then my nail artist kind of sketched over top of the watercolor, which is what my whole book is about. So that was a special nail celebrating the book. I will say this, my story, here's my story. So in, oh gosh, I can't remember which year, but the year that I was writing my book, Making Art for Joy's Sake, I knew that there was going to be, like, the whole book is photographs, and there's links below if you're curious about the book I'm talking about. You don't know what I'm talking about. So I knew that the book was a how-to, and I knew that it was going to be heavily like photography based, like me showing you in photos, in series of photos, how to do the thing. So I knew that my fingers and my hands were going to be kind of like memorialized in this book forever and ever. Amen. And so I decided at that point to grow out my nails. Yes, I'm crazy lady. And so I grew out my nails because I always had stubby little bitten nails for so long. And so I did just that, and I never stopped because I really enjoyed having nail art. It's just fun, and it's just become part of my personality now, and I don't know, I like it. So that's the story. I'm sticking to it. Oh, crazy. All right, I'm using this icy blue to add some more detailing. And the reason I changed the color is because I want to add this detailing, but without it as being as obvious as the detailing with the darker green. And so I'm using the lighter blue and just adding these little skinny leaves, just really faint, pushing back into the background because they're so faint. All right. There we go. That's nice. I do a couple more intersecting here. I actually really, really like that. I'm going to keep going with that for a little bit. Just the same technique, just a light touch. Keep reloading your brush and add the elongated kind of teardrop with a point shape at the end. Kelly can attest that I never painted my nails before the book. Yes. I don't know. I actually used to have long nails in college, and I used to paint them myself and do nail art and rhinestones and all the things, and then I just got out of it. I don't know. But I kind of feel like they're here to stay now, not gonna lie. I like how this is filling the area, but just it's not drawing your attention away from other things. You're welcome for the answer, Noelle. Absolutely. Here we go. Keep those questions coming, friends. If you are on Team Replay, we'd love to hear from you. Head into comments and just say Team Replay. And remember to ask your questions. I go back every day and make sure that I'm answering Team Replay's questions because you are important to us too. So I like that. In fact, it's indulging me, you know, my love of layering and layering and layering of details. So I feel indulged, but without sacrificing the airiness. Yeah, I do. So a little bit of wash of this icy blue over here. It's just a really, I'm going to add some of it here to tone down this crazy orange situation. Yeah. I'm almost singing, y'all. I'm almost singing. You know what that means? You know what that means? If you're new here, I tend to spontaneously sing when I get really excited about my painting and things are working. Carrie says, do you ever turn painting sideways or upside down to see if maybe you like it better another way? Absolutely, all the time. Yes. Yesterday is a testament to that fact. I couldn't even remember which way I had originally painted the piece. Like, ridiculous. And so I just like went with my gut in the moment. And yeah, so that's the beauty with like floral. You can do that because it's a, you know, it's a natural piece, a natural element. So absolutely. All right. Molly says, what size brushes do you use for the larger elements? So in this piece, I was using my 1/2 inch dagger from the Art for Joy's Sake brush collection. And I would venture to guess that I probably used the flat wash brush as well. I use this one a lot. This is kind of like the unsung hero of watercolor brushes. In my opinion, it is extremely versatile. So yeah. But another common one, and I actually have one of these coming out in my new set, a number 12 or a 14 round would be excellent as well. All right. What do I want to do? I do think it's important to maintain some white space, and I think we're almost there. I'm feeling very much like something needs to go ever so slightly off the page, and my instinct is telling me right here. So I'm going to go ahead and just try that, and hopefully let's just pray that that is a good decision. And of course, she's not quite off the page. So I got to alter that. There we go. Yeah, good. Just enough, just a little off the page. And I might do a little bit of the icy blue, super duper light stuff there. Where did my liner brush go? Friends, are you like me? Like, do brushes just disappear? Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, they just disappear. All right, I found her. Icy pretty blue. Ooh. Yeah, if you're having a good time, friends, go ahead and give this video a boop. That's a like. Helps the channel out. I don't know if y'all know. I don't talk about it a lot. I did mention it. It was very out of character. I did mention it in one of my recent uploads that I am getting super dupes close to 100,000 subs here on this channel, which is blowing my mind. And my goal was to have that happen before the end of the year, but that's not going to happen. It's okay though. We're close. It's fine. My husband reminds me, he's like, honey, seriously, like, it's not a big deal. It's going to happen like in January. And I'm like, I know. And it never was a goal. I don't really care about numbers. I care about community, but you know, like we all have that like kind of competitive spirit in us a little bit. And so, yeah. Anywho, okay. I love that so much. A little bit of that light pitter-patterness down there. Tara says, how do you choose which direction to place your leaves? Mine always look forced or artificial. Whew. Okay. This is so, okay. Let's just scrap paper this. This is important. Hold on. I need a piece of scrap paper. And then you'll see what I mean by let's scrap paper this. Good heavens to Betsy. You know, when a girl needs a good scrap piece of paper, she can't find one. What is wrong with me? Ugh. Well, it's not going to be scrap, but that's okay. All right, let's talk about, this is such a good question, and this is why I adore lives. Oh, got a little peek of this. This is coming up next week. I'll teach you how to paint that. All right. Let's just talk about it because, all right, the same kind of thing applies. So if you start painting leaves and you're like, I'll do one here, and then I'll do one here, and then I'm going to kind of make it bigger, right? And they're just kind of like all over the place, right? And maybe you have a flower like here, right? Like maybe your flowers here, and you're like, they don't look natural, right? One thing, if a leaf isn't touching the flower that you're kind of building it from, it's going to look unnatural. If a leaf isn't connected somehow to the other leaves, it's going to look unnatural. And I mean, look here, I don't have a way to even connect that leaf down there. I'd have to resolve that because that looks weird, right? The other thing is that leaves typically, especially groupings of leaves, they tend to kind of point in a similar direction, whether it be kind of curving up or curving to the side and kind of serpentine, right? So it's really about connection. And the other thing that it's about is giving the leaves, like having them kind of, how do I say this? Kind of like the linear detail. And I was talking about the linear detail should emanate from a single point, at least loosely. Well, the same thing applies with leaf clusters. They all should extend from one point. See how natural that looks? Because they're all coming from this point right here. So let's just look at the alternative. If you had leaves that were here, and then a leaf that was here, right? And then a leaf that was here, very disconnected unless you like went this way and made, but it's still awkward, right? So make sure your leaf is touching your flower, and then make sure your cluster of leaves are sort of emanating from a central point, a single point, or they can be emanating from a central vein, right? Kind of like this. Like a, yeah. Does that help? Is that helpful? I hope so. I hope it's helpful. I am. Here's my Coke Zero. I am. I don't drink a lot of my paint water anymore because it's harder to dip a brush in a can. Yeah, I am not a coffee drinker, which is weird. I know I'm a strange bird. All right, a little bit more orange action down here, but I actually think I'm going to do it as some of these little tiny fills that I had going on here, and let them overlap a little bit with this rose that I added at the very beginning of this. That's enough. Let that live. Let that lie. Danielle says, I would seriously love to take an art class with you, like an in-person 6-week course situation. Well, we do offer the hourly recorded classes, and they are fantastic. So, you know, might be a nice little something to ask for the holidays, if that's something you celebrate. I've been getting incredible feedback from folks that have gone ahead with the one-on-one classes, and that just in one session, because the session is so targeted to the specific like issues, quote unquote, that you might be having, that the feedback has been tremendous, and I'm so excited about it. I'm just going to take my cat's tongue on its side and add press and lift, press and look at this. This is just the side of the cat's tongue. Look how lovely. It creates these gorgeous little tap little tappy leaves. Tappy, I don't know. You know what I mean though, don't you? Look at that. Isn't that pretty? I'm gonna go do some down here. Now I'm being very mindful right now. I'm talking to myself in my head, saying, Kristy, don't get crazy. Light and airy, keep it light and airy. Moving away, moving away, moving away. We're really close to done here, friends. We are. I feel it in my bones. Feel it in my bones. Yeah, okay, sorry. A little worship music there. Okay. Thinking. You still with me? If you're still with me, having a good time, go ahead and give this video a boop. That's a thumbs up. That tells the crazy YouTube algorithm that I'm here and well, and that other like-minded folks should also be here and well and watching. Yes. Notice the restraint. Yeah. Because, oh, yay. Hold on. I'll talk about restraint later, and I will keep Vicky's comment up there. But Judy, Kelly responded saying, the girls at the studio have confirmed that our scanner is an Epson Perfection. And let me tell you what, Epson is fantastic. Don't mess around with HP. Epson is the bomb.com when it comes to anything home printing or scanning. Yeah, our scanner is not like it. We did a lot of research. I remember we did a lot of research for the scanner. And while it's certainly not the cheapest scanner out there, it's not like some big, super duper large, crazy professional scanner. So fantastic scanner, fantastic out the box. Not a lot of fussing with settings and all that jazz. Wonderful, wonderful scanner. I'm going in with the press and lift leaves with the side of the cat's tongue here down with this icy blue, just a few moments of it. Vicky, one of my favorite videos of yours includes the vines, 10 ways to level up your painting. Would you consider doing an entire tutorial creating a larger piece with vines? Vicky, I absolutely would. What comes to mind, I'm going to go ahead and link below after this live is over a bunch of my leafy videos for those who might be interested. But I do think a really nice video would be just that, to take all those vines and to take like I did the filler video, the greenery filler, and to do just a greenery piece. And I have 2 other videos on this channel, one of which is one of the most popular from years ago, doing just that, just doing a leafy composition. But yeah, I think you're onto something there, and I need to get that on the schedule. Definitely. Thank you for the suggestion. Who was here yesterday and saw the little piece out from my girl Irie? She was banging on the door just as I was finishing my live, and I'm like, well, let's bring her in and say hello. And she was just, of course, cute as a button. She's ridiculous. All right, getting out of there before I get too tangled up. All right, we're going to put this one to the side, and I'm going to probably go ahead and work on finishing another piece here. But I think this is it. I think she's going to get signed. If you paint off the page, how do you frame without losing the look? Yeah, because I don't do the white edges. I don't worry about it too much. Honestly. I've never had, because the framers don't take that much, like maybe a 1/4 inch. So I don't worry about it too much. It's never been something I've had an issue with. So get in and get out. That's what I need to learn. Get in, get out. Yeah. All right. Let's finish this little lovely here. I don't even remember what. Yeah, that's right side up. I don't remember. This was recent. I did this recently. I don't remember what it was for, but I thought she's cute. Let's finish her up and talk about it, because there's a lot to talk. This little guy is very, very, very much a rough start. It's got some smudgies. Definitely got some weirdness here. But first and foremost, I'm going to go ahead and make this bottom leaf quite a bit larger. I'm going to turn this leaf here into a larger leaf, just with that little stroke of my flat wash brush. She's lovely. Stock is getting low on the brushes. We're sending more in this week, but we're hopeful that they can get, Amazon can get it checked in. But if you are interested in the brush collection, or if you've got it on your list, someone's going to be grabbing it for you for holiday presents, I would give them a little nudge. All right. So that is helpful. I think that's lovely. I do think, I think we need a little hint of another rose here in the kind of tucking out, just cleaning out my paint here. She's a little dirty. All right, little bit of something here. Mix this pink. Okay. Actually, let me detail this bud first before I make any decisions about placing more pink, more flowery moments. And let me explain why. Because the detail I add to this bud is going to help kind of get more focus on the pinks of this painting. And that is essentially what I was going to be doing, is adding more pink to the painting by adding another flower down here potentially. But so I thought it might be a good idea to first kind of hit this and see what then I need, what more pink impact I might need after I've added more detail to this piece here. So when I talk about working incrementally, this is exactly what I'm talking about. To make some of the, I've mentioned to, you know, make some of the bigger, easier decisions first, which I did, kind of block in some of the bigger, easier decisions, but then to work in smaller steps so that if you make a misstep, if you do something that you're not super pleased with, it's not going to be hard to restructure it or undo it. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, just add a little bit of detail there. And I still feel like I want something here. It may just be another bud, but a little bit more open, a little further along in its blooming. All right, just a little something there. And then this piece is heavy. It's feeling heavy. So I'm going to go ahead and actually lighten it up with some filler. And this bud needs to connect somewhere here. So let's connect it. And then let's just get some light, watered down, but full filler stuff going here. Take a moment. How's that feel? That feels good. A little bit more peeking out from up here. And notice how all these leaves are going to a point. They're going to a point, right? And that really helps things feel quite organic and natural. I'm going to go ahead and use this opportunity for this leaf I just blocked in. I'm going to actually use it to further define the flower that it bumps into, because I can. Look for those opportunities. Always be looking for those opportunities. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? Let's get a little bit of dark blue like we have here and just let it wash it in. Wash it in there. Ooh, that's nice. Oh, Denny, you're here. I'm glad you're here. Greetings from Belgium. Lovely when I have to try it. Kristy, could you do a lesson on painting cards? I am. I mentioned it when we first started. I just filmed this. These are going to turn into little greeting cards, little holiday cards. So that is going to be coming up. I think that's going to be on December 12th. It's going to go live on the channel. So keep an eye out for that. And then I'm adding some linear detail with my number 6 round, hoping I cover up that smudge. That covered nicely. There we go. Oh, this is coming along. Okay, I'm going to go back. I'm rinsing my brush because I'm going to go back into that lighter green stuff up here, and I'm going to add some more right here. This is an interesting area to kind of keep it looking natural, right? That's a tough area. That needs to be blotted a little too heavy. There we go. Nice. Nice. Talk yourself through. Look, keep looking at what you're doing. I got to tell you, friends, put it back, pull it away from you. I have the benefit of a second camera that is facing me. I can see, I can literally look up, and I do it all the time. I am looking up and I can see what this painting looks like from a distance. And let me tell you, it is incredibly helpful. Incredibly helpful. So you can mimic that action by just stepping back from your piece from time to time. It's so important. I'm going to refine this little leaf here. I'm going to add some really dark over top of the pink to just really make this feel bud-like. Doesn't feel quite as natural as I was hoping, but I think we'll still be able to resolve that. Really dark here, and it really because I have to, because I decided to go over the pink, but it's okay. I can actually go down here and mimic some of the darkness so my eye doesn't just go there. And I could also go a little mixed media, which I'm going to, because we really haven't done any mixed media on the artwork, the finishing of the artwork. We're doing it on the ornaments, but we haven't done it on the artwork. So why not a little gesso? Some more gesso. Ooh, that's fun. A little thicker. Reload just the tip of my brush. Oh yeah, I like that. And then we're going to go down here and mimic that gesso moment as well. Isn't that lovely? Nice and thick. Letting it blend. Now it's turning into this lovely soft blue that I can bring into other areas. Just need to re-wet my brush just a little bit to get that flow. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? And that's what we call a happy accident. Lovely. Lovely. Isn't she lovely? There we go. I'm singing. Isn't she wonderful? I don't know the words. Is it wonderful or beautiful? I don't know. Okay. Pretty, pretty, pretty. We need a little bit of white here because that got a little heavy feeling. Yeah, the gesso worked well. I think so. The Belgium YouTube stalker. Wait, what? No, it doesn't sound creepy. Stop. I moved my camera again. What's happening? Why am I doing that? No, it didn't sound creepy. It sounded lovely. I want to go to my liner. I'm going to make sure I rinse my brush real good. Real good. Okay. Grab that. I'm getting a nice watered down gesso, hopefully watered down enough. And I'm going to go in and do some stuff with the linear detail. Y'all, this finish is stress-free. This is a small piece. I don't have as many emotional attachments to this piece. And this does wonders for your creative self-esteem when you have a piece like this. Like, you know, if I mess it up, like the last piece, I would have been devastated if I did something like catastrophic to that piece. I would have been absolutely devastated. This one, whatever. But usually what comes with that is freedom. And then freedom really usually delivers really well. It is acrylic gesso. Yes. So I'm making sure not to contaminate my palette, rinsing my brush very well, not working back and forth between the gesso mixing palette and my watercolor palette, because obviously gesso is polymer based. It does not re-wet and it would wreak havoc on a watercolor palette. All right, now let's talk about some detail in this rose here because she needs it. She needs it. Yerp. All right, I'm going to go into some of this creamy pink on my palette. And why does she need the detail? I feel she needs the detail to just stand up to a lot of the interest that's going on elsewhere in this painting. But does the detail need to be a strong color? I don't think so, at least not in this area. Isn't this pretty? Just a nice soft pink. It's just a hint of detail, but it's not like boom in your face. Now we can go darker here because this is a more intense area. Nice. I'm going to grab a little bit of the blue that I was using down in here. I'm going to add just a skosh of it here and there, just to give a little bit of punch in that flower. Not too much. Get in, get out, get done. Why do I use gesso over whitewash? Fantastic question. I like the coverage and the opacity of gesso. Whitewash, to get the same kind of opacity as I do with gesso, I've got to lay it down pretty thick. And even still, it just kind of, the paper soaks it in, whereas the gesso kind of lays on top of the paper. And for most applications, most of my personal preferences with mixed media applications, I like that kind of coverage. All right, I am doing some work here to cover up those green smudgies and just adding thicker, glazing on some thicker, linear, scrubby moments. And then I'm going to go ahead, rinse my brush and fade them out, do some ombre pulling, whatever you want to call it. I call it ombre. I never like the name pulling, so I just made up my own name. So yeah, so that's why I do it. A little bit of that same kind of treatment up here on the top side of the rose. Just a little bit of it peeking through. There we go. Love it. It's okay, Jennifer. I'm glad you're here, though. So glad you're here. I'm going to do some contrast detailing right where these two petals meet. Just a little smiley face of pink. Rinse my brush and then go right next door and blend it out, and just adding some depth, dimension. I'm going to further that now that that area is damp. I can dab in some red. Lovely. I can continue that up into here to further define this petal and its underside. Lovely. just continuing to define, because some of these folds and curves and curls of the rose kind of got lost in the initial wash. It's not even lost. They just needed definition on the next pass. And I'm going to give it. I'm going all in. Remember, I've got no emotional attachment to this piece, so I'm hitting it. I'm going in hard, and I am not afraid. This piece could be a creative sacrifice in the name of learning if it needs to be. I don't think it's going to end that way, but you know, you never know. I hear you, Dolly. I hear you. I hear you out there, my little girl. She's, you know, out there wreaking havoc. All right, now, compositionally, I want to add, for balance, for visual balance, I want to add some of the gesso treatment somewhere in the rose. I think that's important. I think here could be lovely. Just a few little tick marks, little C curves. I think in here, just laying it down and letting it explode, that was successful. Love that. Need to rinse because now I've got all the blue and the red on that brush. Clean brush, back in, and here we go. And again, the reason I'm doing this is just, you've got the white linear detail here, add it up here, and it creates a nice visual balance. The eye doesn't go here too much, right? This little bud, she's simple. I like her. I feel like I maybe just want to add a little bit of linear detail, but not even a lot. Maybe just something in the center here and a few marks coming there, but just not a lot. And then maybe a hint of greenery. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if it works, just to give her a little hint of greenery. And now, because I'm adding this kind of line work there, I'm going to need to add it somewhere else because it doesn't appear anywhere else yet in the composition. So I'm going to go over here and do a little something, something, just like that. It's probably not quite enough to kind of carry it on, so I can actually go up here and connect some of these little details with that kind of linear watercolor sketching and see if that does the trick. That kind of did it. And I'm gonna finish this one off and then step back and take a looky-loo. Darken these up just a skosh. There we go. Ooh, that was wet there. Whoops. Whoops. Just let that dry. That's okay. That's how the cookie crumbles. How we doing, friends? You still here? You still with us? Feeling the love? Having fun? Just a little bit of scrubbing and then a blot blot. I've got a little bit of something there. How am I going to cover that up? Oh, yes, that was one of my earlier splotches. Add a little bit of darker linear detail. So yes, sometimes, for better or for worse, some of your decisions are because you're covering something up. And that's just the facts of finishing a painting life. Nothing to beat yourself up over. And that's it. And then to carry that through cohesively, add a little bit of it up here. Blot that so it's not so strong. A few more wispies over here just to soften that. There we go. Oh, I'm glad you're back, Arden. So glad to have you. So glad to have you. Well, friends, we're doing all right here. Let's just take a look. Just a reminder that Cyber Monday sale still going on, 25% off of select ceramics on KristyRice.com, scarves, any of the remaining 2021 studio sketches. And then I will be today uploading 3 ornaments and I think 4 paintings, friends. These 2 will be part of that. There we go. What paper am I using? So this paper was the Arches 600 GSM, their thickest paper, I believe. And then this piece was on Academy Cold Press. Yes. There they are. This one, I'm going to let her dry. I might have a few more things I want to add. Deb says, how do you feel about using white ink? Is it different than gesso? Absolutely. White ink is interesting for fun washes. Let's just say I dropped some blue ink on a page and then I wanted to see what happened, drop some white ink right in it. But white ink, I find, again, doesn't have the coverage that gesso has. I just like the coverage. Now, gesso, if you're wanting to do very smooth and velvety, kind of linear, sketchy moments on top of a wash, white ink is going to have that smoothness on the brush and underhand. You can get that from gesso, clearly. You just have to water it down and get the right consistency. Yeah, absolutely. So I don't personally use a lot of white ink because it doesn't always give me the coverage I'm after, but it has its place. It has its place for sure. For sure. These are great questions. I'm just going to do a little more work here, friends. As we wrap up, I want to address all of your questions. I'm just scrubbing here. I don't like that detail that I added earlier. So I'm going to scrub that away. And then just dab in some blue down here now because I have an opportunity. This is all damp now. So I can just scrub in some fun texture into that leaf. That's actually pretty. I like that. And then that gives me a nice canvas, so to speak, to add some linear detail once it's dry. I'm thinking I'm actually going to add some white. I'm just going to positive lift. I love the idea, you know, lifting traditionally is the technique we think of when we're correcting errors, right? And I have a new video coming out on Saturday that I'm super dupes excited about. It's the follow-up to my watercolor mastermind, and it's all about how do you know when you're not a beginner anymore, and what are the techniques, and how do we kind of look at this new part of our journey. And one of the techniques that I talk about is lifting, and how traditionally lifting is seen as a mistake corrector, but I have a new name for it. A new life, a new personality, a facet to lifting's personality, and that is positive lifting. Because sometimes I lift just to see the texture that's revealed underneath, like right now. I am lifting. I initially lifted this area because I didn't like it was a mistake fixer, right? But then I continued to lift. I added color and then I lifted it away just to see how the paper would stain and the texture that was left behind. So just a little teaser as to what's to come with that fun video. I'm really excited about it. I get that question all the time. How do I know that I'm no longer a beginner? How do I, like, what's my next step? I think Jennifer actually asked me that question. Jennifer, you're going to be like starring in that video. I talk about you. I don't talk about you by name, but I mentioned the question you asked me during our private session where you were like, how do I know? How do I know I am not a beginner anymore? And you really inspired this whole video. So thank you very much. I added some white on this leaf to soften that detail that I laid down. It was just feeling really heavy. And so I went in and softened that. Donna says, do you find when you lift, it roughs up the paper too much? Not on Arches, not on Academy. No, it would definitely rough up the paper on a smooth, like on a hot press. So I couldn't do this on that, but either of those two, any Arches, no. It'd probably rough up a Canson XL. It would probably definitely rough up a Strathmore 400 series. But no. But great question. Important question for sure. All right, here's another example. I laid down some of that blue and I overlapped it with the linear detail over here because I wanted some of that blue to get soaked in by the gesso. And now I'm pushing it back and lifting it back, flooding it back towards this. Even gonna, yeah, there we go. And look, it just created the most lovely, subtle texture down there. Jennifer is here with us. She says, please book a one-on-one. It changed my direction so much for the better. Best present from my son ever. Jennifer has the best son ever. He's just so good to her. I love it. It just makes my heart so happy. But yes, Jennifer was the one who, Jennifer, do you remember asking me that question? Like, Kristy, am I a beginner still? And I asked you some questions in return and we had a little chat about it. And it really got me to thinking. So thank you. All right, let's see here. I am going in with some strong but dry white into the rose. I know you're probably like, I hear gasps like, what is she doing? Y'all, I'm having fun. I'm having fun. Kristy, the Academy you talk about, is it from, I can't pronounce that. I've never been to pronounce it, but yes, it's from that B word. And I believe Academy is actually the student grade. Correct me if I'm wrong, someone. And then the B word is their professional. Is that correct? I have used both. I don't notice a difference, so I just use Academy because it's cheaper. Yes, I did. And it really made me gain more confidence, Jennifer. Wonderful. Yes. Donna says she learned so much during these sessions. I'm so glad. So glad. So glad. Gotta rinse this brush. It is full of gesso. Double rinse, double rinse. That's what you're hearing. Now, this is still damp, but I wanna see what another technique I talk about in the new video. In the video, I actually call like I'm an ex-beginner. You're an ex-beginner. That's what I'm calling us as we exit the beginner phase. And one of the things I talk about is taking all the techniques that you've mastered up until this point and kind of switching them up in terms of, okay, well, let's do linear detail, but on damp paper. Let's do linear detail on super wet paper and see what happens. So a lot of what we do as intermediates and beyond is really just bending and breaking a lot of the boundaries of the techniques we've already learned, and how do they mingle and how do they intertwine, and what happens when you mingle techniques, what happens when you lift and then do ombre, what happens when you do watercolor sketching, let it dry for a day and then lift again, what happens in those overlaps. And that's when things get really exciting. See what I did just there? I lifted over top lightly some of this linear detail to reveal some of the most exquisite, subtle textures. Look at that. So definitely, friends, tune in for the video. I will actually, that'll be my first day at Disney. We're going to be at Epcot, but I'm going to be checking and I'm going to be watching for your comments. And I'm hoping you're going to be as excited about the premiere on Saturday as I am of this video. Do you exercise on the good paper or do you use the cheaper ones? I use all the paper. Do you want to really hear the honest truth of that the answer to that question, it's usually what's ever in arm's reach. I will be honest, because, you know, this is my business as well as my absolute passion. You know, I go through a ton of paper and I don't really limit myself. I have that worked into the cost of doing my business. And so I usually grab whatever is in arm's reach. And so I give myself a tremendous amount of flexibility in terms of what I practice on versus, you know, reserving the good stuff just for, yeah. So I would say if you are looking to stay budget conscious and looking for really good practice paper, obviously Academy would be my number one choice, because it is such amazing quality and it is more accessible, at least in the US. I don't know. I don't recall exactly where you are based, but one of my next go-tos, and I've mentioned this, would be the Gen Crafts watercolor paper. It's really budget friendly. But if you are a painter like I am, you like a lot of washes, you're hard on your paper, you do a lot of lifting and so on and so forth, it's going to tolerate that tremendously. If you're not doing a lot of lifting and you're not doing a lot of scrubbing and back and forth and push and pull, then maybe the Canson XL watercolor paper will be just fine. So, yeah. Jennifer says, use good, you deserve it. Colby's advice. Yes, my interview with Colby Bloom, we deserve the good paper. You know, obviously that is a privileged statement. Not all of us can afford and make room for that in our budget, but that's why I try to give a lot of options. Yeah. Ellie says, make sure to enjoy time with your kiddos too. Comments will be here when you get back. Thank you, Ellie. Don't worry. I will. I have to say, Disney is so immersive. It's hard to be distracted by the outside world at Disney. It's one of the reasons I fell in love with Disney. I know they're controversial and there's a lot, you know, they're a big corporation. They make a lot of money and they become the butt of many jokes and the subject of much criticism, but and we're super excited about the new CEO coming. He's a CEO, right? But you know, Disney makes it so that you're immersed and you do forget about the outside world. They make it very difficult for you to remember real life. And I appreciate that. The Imagineers, the incredible artists that are behind all the magic of Disney, just absolutely fascinate me. Just fascinating. The idea of creating an experience and creating an environment like that is just incredibly fascinating. So, but thank you for that reminder. Academy is not available here. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know about Gen Crafts. I know some folks in the UK and beyond were saying Gen Crafts is also not available. A lot of the good paper for less is not available in Europe. You know what? I have to ask you a favor, friends. For my European friends, if somebody is willing and has a few moments, if there are papers that you're thinking maybe I don't know about that are available to you that maybe I could get my hands on and do a video about, especially for my European friends, send me an email, hello@kristyrice.com. Let me know. Maybe there's some papers that I need to get acquainted with so I can better recommend them to you, that it's going to be more accessible. Yeah. Also no Gen Craft. Okay. Yeah. I really would like to dig into that more. So if you have any paper recommendations that maybe you've never heard me talk about that I need to know about, let me know and I'll get on it and start working on a video. Kristy, I feel so happy and blessed that I've been able to be at your live sessions. You're inspiring and joyful. Because of you, this beginner started her watercolor journey. Yay, Susie. Oh, that makes me so happy. So happy. Yes, the front of the Academy. Hold the phone. Let me grab it. Here's one. There she is. And I don't know if I have the other one, the B one. Baum. I don't want to be disrespectful, but I don't know how to pronounce it. It's terrible. I don't have one of those right now. I think I used it up recently. But this is what it's looking like. All right. The master's paper is here available. Okay. All right, friends, this has been an absolute blast. Thank you for being with me. I'm going to have the playlist in its entirety linked below in a few hours. And I just cannot thank you enough for being here with me to this live series. Kelly, let's go split screen. And just keep in mind, sorry, Team Replay, but we do have the Cyber Monday sales going on. And I have especially need to thank anyone who's Team Replay, because it's sometimes difficult to watch a live that was, you know, filmed during the holiday season and you're watching it in the spring. But hopefully there was enough nuggets of awesomeness and helpfulness scattered throughout that it kept you watching, and I so appreciate it. So friends, very, very grateful for you. You have been the light and the joy of my year in 2022. You know, my family, of course, they support everything I do, and they are so much a part of why I do what I do. But just the same, this community, your commitment, your cheerleading of me has been such an incredible, immense blessing. And I'm using all the adjectives and I sound ridiculous, but just know it comes from my heart. You know, I've been doing what I've been doing for years, and I have been looking for my community, my like-minded, my kindred spirits, as Anne Shirley would say, for years. And I have found you, and you are just a blessed thing. So thank you all. Thank you for being here. And I will see you next time. And until then, very, very happy painting. Mwah.